7:32. I'm going to call this meeting, the Animal Services Committee, to order. Roll call, please.
Aquino,
Here.
Sark, here, Eckhoff,
Here.
Garcia,
Here.
Krajewski, Rutledge.
Here. Okay, by way of chairman's remarks, I just want to say the chair, Krajewski, is out of town today, so I'll be filling in as the vice chair of Animal Services. And maybe Nick or Tim, you can fill this in, but last week, a week ago today, we were on a phone call with some folks to talk about how we haven't received enough or appropriate bids on contracts. So we're going to go back out for contract bids. And so we were going to have a big ceremony to break ground on the project, and that's going to be pushed out for a month. Anything I can say that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's the bid package for the project, about 40 different bid packages in there. About half of them received the 0 or 1 bid, where the vendor was putting it out. We're now working closely with procurement to get as much interest as possible. And hopefully we'll get good bids, we'll have bids, and we're hoping to have all those open by July 1. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes.
And we're looking for the groundbreaking some point in July. I know we're still working with City of Wheaton for the permit, but there is a lot of work that's going on simultaneously, moving fiber lines. We're moving forward with the attention we need for the project. So we're getting a lot of positive movement forward on the project.
Good.
I have a question, Nick. Is it, so the 40 bids you mentioned, is that just all the subs through all the?
It's broken down each aspect of you might have HVAC, you might have drywall, so they're all broken down separately.
So you don't look for a GC and then let them
Correct.
filter that out, okay.
So the groundbreaking set for Tuesday, June 6th has been canceled, and hopefully it'll be rescheduled in July. All right. The approval of the minutes. I move to approve the minutes, 23-15110.
Second.
10, I should say, Animal Services Committee regular meeting Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. Procurement requisitions. 23-1743. I move the recommendation for the approval of contract with Hills Pet Nutrition Sales, Inc. to provide canine and feline pet food for animal services for the period June 22nd, 2023 through June 21st, 2024
Second.
for a contract total amount not to exceed $23,000 per lowest responsive quote. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, that's approved. Budget transfers, 23-1799. I move to approve the transfer of funds from the account numbers 5000-1310-52200 operating supplies and materials, 5000-1310-53610 instruction and schooling, and 5000-1310-52320 medical dental lab supplies, to accounts number 5000-1310-5350 mileage expense, 5000-1310 I should say -53510 travel expenses, and 5000-1310-53090 other professional services in the amount of $3,835 needed to cover the cost of humane education coordinator travel to APHE conference and increased cost of high volume spay and neuter veterinary services funded by DuPage Animal Friends grant from Animal Services. We have a motion in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, that's approved. Shelter renovation update. Jim Harbaugh,
I think Laura was gonna.
Nick Hotmeyer. Oh, Laura.
Well, I think all three of us, yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
So in front of you guys, we have some renderings that the architect provided to give you some visuals of what the project is panning out to look like. I really feel like this is going to be such a bright spot on campus here, really beautifying that corner of Manchester and County Farm. And, you know, we were working with the Village of Wheaton on permitting, and there were quite a few comments about how impressed they were with the designs and how it looked, and we really had positive feedback. So we've worked really closely with the facilities team, and really a special thank you to Tim and Jeff. They've been phenomenal throughout this whole process because this is not my area of expertise. So they've helped hold our hands through this to make sure that we're getting what we need in order to serve the community for decades to come. So this first drawing is a look at what the outside of the project looks like. We're really paying close attention to making sure that we're appropriately landscaping and trying to make sure that these are things that are easy to maintain as well. Adding the butterfly garden right by the front entrance there. And it might be hard to see, but it kind of, there's like a berm right there on Manchester. So the property is still kind of sunken down a little bit. So there's still a fair amount of coverage from the residential part back along that side. So, so it looks very nice. So very inviting, welcoming for people to come in. And then the next page is a brief look at what we're hoping the lobby is going to look like.
That's gorgeous.
Yes, and you know, you'll notice that we're planning to have a collage of animal photographs running along the top, and we were really excited. We compiled pictures that our volunteers and staff have taken over the years, and we shared that with all of our staff and volunteers to do a vote. So our staff and volunteers had a really active role in helping select which pictures might actually go in the shelter. Yes, so so once again, trying to make sure, many of you guys have been in the building, you know, we've got that really tight space that we're doing all that work in. So this is the main entrance, and we're still maintaining that separate intake entrance on the west side of the building. The next one gives you kind of an idea of what we're looking at in terms of the types of kennels and spaces that we're going to give cats.
What a difference.
You know, right now,
Windows.
yes, and natural
That's
light.
awesome.
Yeah, natural light, not the fake picture windows that they.
Well, it's just so nice that the animals have something to do.
Yeah, and those windows that you see there, those are facing Manchester Road. So that's where the parking lot area is. So yes, lots of nice natural light coming in. More space for people to move around in that cat room. You know, right now we're caring for about 140 animals, and that number always is majority cats, right? So we want to make sure we're giving our cats appropriate spaces. And what you're not seeing here, we weren't able to do renderings of every space, but we also have that cat gym that's going to be right off of the main cat room as well. So we've got some free space for them to exercise. And then a really exciting part of this project is our small animal space. So making sure that we're giving our rabbits, our guinea pigs. Right now we're caring for 14 rabbits and 13 guinea pigs, all in our hallways.
I was going to say not tall.
All in the hallways and in foster homes. And actually we got a call anecdotally yesterday from a gentleman who said, I need to surrender some guinea pigs. And we said, how many? He goes, many.
Oh, goodness.
And it turns out he has 20 some guinea pigs right now.
Oh
He wants
my
to
God.
surrender.
Oh,
And we don't have the space for it. We physically don't have the space. So we had him come in and we helped him sex them so he could separate them and keep them at home until we can figure
keep
out.
that number static.
Right, we need to keep the number static, but then until we can figure out an intake plan so that we have somewhere to put them. Yeah. And we worked very closely with our exotic vet, Dr. Brown, to make sure that we're giving the rabbits, which is always a big part of our population, the appropriate spaces too, because they tend to have a longer length of stay with us. And then the other thing that you're going to see there is I included a copy of kind of what the layout looks like. Really, as we've gone through this project, not much has changed in terms of the layout. Really paying close attention to making sure our finishes are going to withstand the wear and tear, that all the cleaning and work that our staff does, that can hold up, making sure that we've got flexible spaces so that as our population needs change or the types of programs we're offering to the public changes, we can adapt. Once again, another story you guys may have seen that this year we've really kicked off the year with a lot of large animal intake situations, ranging from roosters. Our dog population got very full there for a little bit. We took in 45 cats from one house already this year. So we're dealing with a lot of large influxes of animals. And the nice thing about having this indoor exercise play space and a lot of these little flexible rooms is we can adapt then quickly depending on what we need to respond to and what types of animals we need to house. So
question?
Yeah.
Has there been any consideration to the roof doing like a solar panel or a green roof or anything?
Yes, so we have our existing roof is supposed to have another 10 years on it, but we have been experiencing some leaks. So we have an alternate bid out with what they were talking about to say, okay, what would it take to replace the roof as well? Because that wasn't originally in our plan. And then what would that solar piece look like? And I don't know, Tim, if you've got in, is that correct?
We do have pricing from what we've done in 421.
Yeah.
That is a south-facing roof. Some of the other roofs have been designed, whether for activities possibly been on top of them, but that is the perfect roof. Generally, what we try and do is wait for when you replace it, because if you put it on too soon, eventually you have to take it off to replace.
Yes.
And that's,
Yeah.
we want to really avoid that. So that
Seems
is,
like replacing it would be the key thing to do now as long as everything's.
if we can just get more life out of it, it's just kind of a balancing
Okay.
act. You know, I mean, if we can get, say, 5 more years of life out of it,
Okay,
that's kind of what we're juggling.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Are we set on orange?
You know, I don't know if it's the printer. It's not really an orange color. It's more of like a brownish.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't think we have samples of what some of the exterior materials look like at this point.
We will be getting those in.
Yeah, and we can share that when that happens.
You know, what we could do is, because I think because it is the printer, we could send out pictures to the committee so you can see the original roof pictures and see the color.
I mean, because here's the animal services, kind of their brand, which is more golden and I don't know.
It's definitely not an orange, it's more of a brownish exterior.
I know that's minutia when you're talking about a whole building.
No, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, orange would definitely stand out.
What's the capacity for cats and dogs after this?
Yeah, so, you know, our capacity is really not changing that much more. Our problem in our existing spaces, we've been just kind of piling on and the spaces are not appropriately sized. So we'll still be able to have over 100 cats. Our dog population, and I'd love to kind of piggyback just population conversations around the capacity too. We're adding 7 dog kennels. Even though our existing kennel spaces have 80+ kennels, we give every dog 2 kennels because they need a living space and then they need their bathroom space. So a lot of times when people say, what's your capacity? Well, what do we consider quality care, right? Are we just warehousing animals and shoving them into cages and expecting them to live like that? Or are we giving them appropriate spaces for what we consider to be the right type of care for that animal? So recently, you know, when we took in 15 dogs and sheep from a resident here, we had already had a very full population. We brought all those dogs in and they were all large breed dogs. Wasn't like they were Chihuahuas, they were Pyrenees mixed dogs.
Really large.
And we had all of our kennels full and we still had owner surrender appointments scheduled and we still had strays streaming in regularly. And so we were at a critical point where we say, do we let the community know that we need help? Because we don't want to be in a position where we are putting animals in one single cage just for the sake of living in a cage. Or do we say, hey, this isn't what we consider to be quality care.
Right.
We need help. And knowing that adoptions have been slow lately and rescues have not been pulling at a brisk pace because they don't have open foster homes, we did a call out to the community to say, listen, we might have to be euthanizing animals if we can't start relieving the flow here and get some of the existing animals out. And even though we take a bit of a beating publicly when we make those pleas, it works.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of rescues step up. They took some dogs out of our care. We had people say, yes, I'd like to foster. And we were able to lift the deadlines on some of the animals that were in the building and relieve some of that pressure. So, but that's always a balancing act we're working with is what is our capacity for care and quality care.
You don't want to pull that card too often either.
No, and we try not to. And, you know, we will sometimes put deadlines on an animal that is struggling in the shelter environment because what people don't realize is once again, just warehousing an animal, once they start experiencing kennel stress, they might start self-harming. They might get more challenging to take in and out of that kennel, putting staff and volunteers at risk. we look at the animals' mental health as much as we look at their physical health when we're caring for them. So, but I was so pleased with the people that did step up and say, I want to help, the positive comments that were made to say, hey, this can't be done by 20 people, right, in a building. It needs to be done by the community stepping up and helping us out. So that was phenomenal. So even though our capacity in terms of the number of animals doesn't significantly increase with this building, we are providing more appropriate spaces to keep animals here, and then more appropriate places to work with the public so that maybe we can help people keep their pets. We can provide more educational opportunities. We can provide other services that say, hey, we aren't just a place where animals come and stay and have to get rehome. We're a place where you learn, you get the resources you need to keep your pet, because that's what we ultimately want. So,
I see where the small mammals are.
yes, yes, no longer in our hallways.
Yeah.
So the small mammals are right off the main entrance near the
we-
vestibule there.
Do we keep like the roosters that you have? Are they in the building now?
No, so we've adopted all of the roosters out. We kept them in dog kennels. They took up 2 full
Outside of
rooms.
DuPage County, I hope.
Most of them were, yeah. They went all over the country, Pennsylvania,
Oh, wow.
Georgia,
How do you get them
Michigan.
there?
So you can only transport within state lines. So usually we've got a volunteer or a team member that will get to the border, and then they coordinate transports with other volunteers to get them where they need to go.
Where do we keep the other miscellaneous animals?
The small mammal adoption room, it's not just bunnies and
But I
guinea
mean,
pigs.
like roosters, snakes, stuff like that, those are placed in this.
Yeah, we've labeled it small mammal, but reptiles could also go in there. It's our flexible room. And you'll also notice that off that small mammal room is another flex room right to the north of it. So we have these little flex rooms set up so that we can adjust as necessary. So if that small mammal room, for example, is filled with guinea pigs and rabbits, we may not want to put snakes in there. Maybe a snake goes in the flex room. Now, roosters, like I said, we ended up putting them in our dog kennels. So we'll,
What about like an indoor livestock area? Am I just not seeing that for like
So-
the land, the sheep or whatever?
so actually to the very north of it, almost in the center, you'll see it says outdoor livestock
Right, I see
area.
that, yep.
Yeah, we don't have an indoor, but we would typically use like one of our dog kennels for something like that. Yeah.
Any other questions about the building?
Well, I have a comment and a question. I'm very happy to see that the treatment area and the recovery and everything is all separate now. I think that is
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
That is, it was so sad when they would go to your building now and it was just like, and you said they're, being treated and recovering in the same room. That's gotta be really part of the animals. So I'm really glad to see that happening here. Number 2, do you have any idea why it's slow in terms of adoptions right now? What the reason is, or, and let's show that cute dog.
I know.
Yeah,
There
right.
you go. We've amongst our, we're part of a coalition of other Chicagoland area shelters, and we talk about this. And some of the speculation has been that a lot of people got pets during the pandemic, and
This is still the pandemic.
so a lot of households are filled. The other piece of it is uncertainty with people's financial positions and if they can afford to have pets. We've taken in more owner-surrendered pets this year than we have strays. We've taken in over 500 animals as owner-surrendered pets
Really?
in these last 5 months, not even 5 months alone.
Wow.
I'm gonna guess the economy because animal, like
Yeah.
for my dog and cat food, that it's gone way up.
Yeah. So we get creative. We're trying really hard to market them through social media. We've streamlined some of our process for getting animal information out there too with technology. The new website's been phenomenal too. I feel like that really showcases the animals a lot better than our old site did. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 2 factors that we've been really kind of thinking are impacting.
Otherwise, everything looks great, Laura. I'm
Thank you.
excited to see it happening.
Any other questions about the building, comments?
How long will the construction process last, do you expect?
Well, we haven't started.
Probably
yet,
18 to
so-
20 months.
Yeah.
It's a 2 unique phase process to do the addition, occupy the addition, vacate existing for the renovation.
Not like building a new
You
building.
know, and I've asked this about the care center rehab as well, but how inconvenient is this construction going to be on your staff?
Well, the hope is it's not impacting us too greatly in the first phase where Tim was mentioning they're building the new space. We'll be able to occupy our current space mostly uninterrupted. It'll be that second phase where we move into the new space and they're renovating the existing one, because what we're going to lose, you'll notice that treatment, recovery, surgery area, that's all in the renovation space. So we'll have to get creative with how we're managing our vet care during that phase 2. And then the second part that will be challenging is all of our dog holding, for the most part, is in the renovated space. So we're going to have a period there where we don't have access to our dog holding. So we're talking about, we will have the new dog adopt room. We've got that large indoor exercise play area where maybe we could set up temporary kennels, and then hopefully work with local vet partners to make sure they're helping to provide some kennel space for municipalities that might need to impound strays. But it'll be that phase 2 part that'll be more challenging for us from an operational.
What about some sort of trailer to hold the dogs as a dog holding area? You know, those giant trailers that they use, they bring in for classrooms for schools to throw crap in.
Yeah, we actually talked about that years ago when we were running out of space for the staff. We thought, could we put a trailer out here for staff? Yeah, and there's a lot of possibilities if we, yeah,
We
definitely.
did vacate the building when we did the HVAC work in about 2015 in its entirety of dogs.
Yeah.
And it went, I believe I went successfully this year. Hopefully you had the same thought.
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah, in hindsight.
We had an existing building that we were able to transfer.
Oh, gotcha.
That's the old OEM building, but that's obviously since been demolished, so.
And then all the dogs went to another
We
facility.
partnered with them the whole town.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
I'm out of order a little bit, but do we have any public comment? No. Okay. So we'll move on to administrative update, which we've
Which
kind
we've
of
kind of
giving
been
us.
doing, yeah, you know, I wanted to bring up the conversation about euthanasia, because I know that lately that's been something that we've been struggling with in terms of our population, really asking the public to help us. And, you know, we do make decisions mostly based on health and behavior when it comes to euthanasia, but I think this was the first time in a long time we were public about like, hey, we are really struggling with this, with our space. So I wanted to use this time to see if you guys have any questions about how we make these decisions or what our approaches are to communicating with the public, but in keeping with our policy of trying to really be transparent about what happens.
What is our percentage rate?
We've been at 89% the last 2 years, and to be considered no kill, you have to be at a 90% live release rate. And I will say this, we've had a lot of conversations about what does that mean if we ever do hit that, that golden number of 90%. And we don't really look at being labeled as no kill as a high priority for us, as much as it's just doing right by every single animal that walks through the door. Because I think the language around no kill can be very misleading. And I prefer to talk about open admission versus limited admission. So we are an open admission shelter. You know, for the most part, we're saying, hey, we're going to take animals regardless of where they come from, regardless of what their species or breed is, regardless of their health or behavior. Where limited admission shelters are saying, no, I'm not going to take that animal. And it's much easier to maintain a no-kill label when you can pick and choose which animals are you taking in. And when you're full, you can say, no, I'm not taking any more animals. But when we were hitting a space crisis, I'm not telling the police departments, no, don't bring me your dogs. They're bringing me the dogs and I'm having to figure it out. So, so while we would love to say that we're no kill, even if we hit that 90%, I still prefer the label open admission.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We want to take every animal available.
Yeah. And we do that with, you know, limited resources, right?
Right.
You know, we don't charge much for people surrendering their animals. And sometimes we have to take animals, 45 cats that came in, he didn't have a dime to his name. You know, the 15 dogs and sheep, his power had been turned off and you know, we're taking those animals and even when we do take a fee to take a surrendered pet, we're talking anywhere from $5 to $35. I mean, it's not a significant amount because we never want the fee to be the barrier to doing the right thing. Because what's going to happen is if somebody can't afford the fee, they're at risk of just getting dumped outside anyway, because where that animal's coming, it's coming to our shelter. So we've taken it one way or the other, but at least if we take it as an owner surrendered pet, we have the legal ability to move faster on it, right? And maybe we get some information on that pet. We get some history on behavioral health, as opposed to when they come, you know, this dog right here came in as a stray over the weekend. And we've been sitting here all morning speculating, how old is she?
Yeah.
What does
What
she
breed is
bark? What
she?
breed is she? You know, does she
any-
like
She's
big
adorable,
dogs?
just
Yeah.
letting you know.
And we don't know those things when they come in as strays. So, yeah.
Any old business?
No.
Any new business? Any questions for Laura about her fluffy friend?
Keep us posted on Fluffy Friend.
Oh,
Yeah, really. Meet me.
All right,
posted,
without objection.
Yeah.
Thank you all for-
Congratulations.